Today we are going to be talking a little bit about good starts and bad finishes. And when I was in junior high, I was good at like one sport in my life. Well, two. I played lacrosse a little bit, and that was fun. But in 7th grade, I joined our cross country team. And I was actually pretty good at it. Like, all you had to do was run, right? But I actually really didn't like it all that much because all you had to do was run. And that's not like that fun. I mean, running for the sake of like scoring a touchdown or something, that seems more fun. But running 5 miles just to run 5 miles, it wasn't my cup of tea. But what we did was we would really focus on starting and on finishing, because those are the important things. If you start bad, then you're going to finish bad. You're not going to do well. And once you get to the end, then you got to know how to finish it. And we would practice just running all day, and then at the end of our practices, we would do sprints so that we could finish well, so that we would know how to like save some endurance for the very end, where you would sprint to the finish and you could pass those couple more people and get like those extra points. And you know, we've all seen people who start well, but they end pretty poorly, right? Have you guys ever seen that? How many of us watched the Beijing Olympics this summer? Or last summer, actually. I love the Olympics because I get to watch all these amazing athletes who work so hard, and I get to sit on my couch and eat potato chips and watch them work so hard. It's so fun. But there was the track and field events that happened. Did anybody follow those at all? And the USA was supposed to go in there and just clean up. And there were just a few little problems that happened. And so, like I remember one of the girls who ran the hurdles, she was supposed to go and she was supposed to be amazing, and she clipped one of the hurdles and it threw her off a little bit, and so she didn't finish all that well. And a relay team was supposed to do amazing, and they dropped the baton, and this was this really terrible thing. They started really well, they had all this expectation, and then it didn't end well. And how about this little pop superstar, Britney Spears? Right? I remember back in the day, she was as innocent as Hannah Montana, right? She was just this little girl who was just like, oh, you know, little pop star, right? And she, I guess, you know, in all honesty, she told us she wasn't that innocent. But I don't think any of us believed that she was going to go that far, right? None of us thought that. But I want to talk today about a guy named Asa, King Asa. If you guys want to turn to 2 Chronicles 14, we're going to be talking about his life today and his start and his finish and kind of why he ended up where he did. But just to give you guys a little bit of a setup here, this is always confusing for me when we talk about kings of Israel and kings of Judah, because there's so many of them and there's all this thing. So we started with David, right? David, everyone knows who David is. He's a good king. He did well. And then he had Solomon, and Solomon became king, and he was a good king. He had a couple issues, but he was a good king. And then Rehoboam became the king, and he was not a good king. He was a really bad king. In fact, he tore Israel and Judah apart, which is why there's Judah and Israel. And then Abijah came. He was a good king. And now we have Asa. So David, Solomon, Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa. And then Asa was the father of Jehoshaphat. We all know that guy, right? So here we go. So let's start off. And right from the very beginning, in 14:2, it says this. It says, Asa did what was right, what was good and right in the eyes of the Lord his God. He removed the foreign altars and the high places, smashed the sacred stones, and cut down the Asherah poles. He commanded Judah to seek the Lord, the God of their fathers, and to obey his laws and commands. He removed the high places and incense altars in every town in Judah, and the kingdom was at peace under him. He built up and fortified the cities of Judah, since the land was at peace. No one was at war with him during those years, for the Lord gave him rest. So Asa takes over being his king. His father has died, and man, he's off to a great start. And this is a little bit of a summary, and we'll get into some more specifics, but he's doing really good. He's got peace. He's following the Lord. He's doing a great job. He gives glory to God. He's having a lot of success. And in verse 7 it says this. This is kind of an important statement. He says, let us build these towns, he said to Judah, and put walls around them with towers, gates, and bars. This is the important thing. He says, the land is still ours, because we have sought the Lord our God. So he gives glory to God, and he understands that it's the focus upon God. It's the focus upon the Lord that has brought him success. And so he's having a great old time. Things are going really well. And then he faces the first big challenge of his career as king. And so let's take a look at that. It's in 9. Verse 9 it starts. Here we go. Zerah the Cushite marched out against them with a vast army and 300 chariots, and came as far as Mareshah. Esau went out to meet him, and they took up battle positions in the valley of Zephathah near Marishah. So the problem is here, right? The Cushites march out against Esau, and he's got an army, but this army is thousands upon thousands. It's a huge army. And you know what? Esau steps up. He's the king. He's got to go out there and meet him. So he gets his army together. They go out there, and they prepare themselves. And then Esau says this. This is his reaction. He says, "Then Esau called to the Lord his God and said, Lord, there is no one like you to help the powerless against the mighty. Help us, O Lord our God, for we rely on you. And in your name we have come against this vast army. O Lord, you are our God. Do not let man prevail against you." So Esau's reaction to this crisis in his career is to turn to the Lord. He turns instantly to God, and he gives him all the glory. Let me read this one line again. "Help us, O Lord our God, for we rely on you." He's relying upon God. He gives it all to him. And then what's the result? The result is that the Lord struck down the Cushites before Esau and Judah. The Cushites fled, and Esau and his army pursued them as far as Gerar. Such a great number of Cushites fell that they could not recover, for they were crushed before the Lord and his forces. The men of Judah carried off a large amount of plunder. They destroyed all the villages around Gerar, for the terror of the Lord had fallen upon them. They plundered all these villages, since there was much booty there. They also attacked the camps of the herdsmen and carried off droves of sheep and goats and camels. Then they returned to Jerusalem. So the result is that he has this amazing thing happen. So he has this massive challenge in his career. He's brought up against this huge army, and then he trusts in God, he relies upon God, and then God gives him the victory. And then that sets him up for future reform and rededication. And next, Azariah comes to him, and he gives him this message from God that says, essentially, the Lord is with you when you are with him. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. So he gives him this message, and this is a little bit of foreshadowing. This is good storytelling right here. A little foreshadow to what's going to happen. But initially, Esau's reaction to that oracle is that he makes the entire nation of Judah come under line with God. That he implements all these reforms. They remove idols. They repair God's altar. They sacrifice a ton of meat, man. They have a barbecue like nobody's ever seen before. That's like thousands of bulls and stuff. It's crazy. And then they all take an oath. And then they kill the people who won't take an oath. Even the little babies and the moms and everything. It's crazy. They kill everybody. And then he sends his grandma away because his grandma won't come into line. And I love my grandma. I could never do this. But I guess she was nasty or something. So he sent her away. Esau's heart was fully devoted to God all of his life. And you even see that people start to come to him because they see that God's with him. It says that in verse 9, large numbers had come over to him from Israel when they saw that the Lord his God was with him. And then he brought into the temple all the silver and all the gold. He was doing everything right. He reformed Israel. He made some really good steps. And as a result, he saw 20 years of peace after that. 20 years without war. And 20 years where things were amazing. He was able to invest in his people, have a great, great community. And then challenge number 2 comes. And that's in chapter 16. And it says this. In the 36th year of Asa's reign, Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and fortified Ramah to prevent anyone from leaving or entering the territory of Asa, king of Judah. So now we have Israel, right? They're a separate nation. And so the king of Israel comes down and he starts to fortify the places around Judah, essentially cutting them off and essentially setting himself up to be able to attack and take over Judah. And so this is not a good thing. And so Asa needs to react some way. And so his reaction is in the next couple verses. It says, Asa then took the silver and gold out of the treasuries of the Lord's temple and of his own palace and sent them to Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus. Let there be a treaty between you and me, he said, as there was between my father and your father. See, I am sending you silver and gold. Now break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, so he will withdraw from me.